Welcome to The Money Hour with host Tina Mitchell and co-host Keelan Harvey. Tina Mitchell, MLO 145420, and Keelan Harvey, MLO 1330075, are licensed loan originators with Gateway Mortgage Group, LLC, and MLS 7233. The views expressed by the speakers on the following program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of Gateway Mortgage Group, LLC, nor are they necessarily endorsed by Gateway Mortgage Group, LLC. Now, in the studio, local mortgage experts Tina Mitchell and Keelan Harvey.
Welcome to the Money Hour at 11:50 a.m. KKNW, the Saturday, August 11th show. I am your host, Tina Mitchell.
And co-host Keelan Harvey.
Your local mortgage experts, building expert advice and inside knowledge on today's events and how they'll affect your money. If you're hearing our show at a different time or day, you are listening to a rebroadcast, but we're here to answer any questions or connect you with the guests that we have on the show today. Please call the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150. Or you can also go online at themoneyhour.com. And the lineup for our show today, Nancy Juetten of Nancy S. Juetten Marketing. The 9 best ways to make the most of your marketing table or event sponsorship to come home with clients, connections, collaborations, and most important, a little bit of cash. Also in studio, Britt, Wibmer with Avenue Properties, the Seattle Shutdown. And last guest in studio, Deanna Barley with Keller Williams Realty Everett. Thinking outside the box in today's market. Great information and great guest in studio. As always, if you would like to connect with the guests that we have on the show, you can call the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. And we'll start out today's show, just as we do each week, with a little money chat.
Money.
Housing construction in Seattle is setting records while other local suburbs are at record lows. Despite the record construction spree in Seattle, housing growth is actually down a bit this decade across King County as a whole. This is because development in the suburbs has plunged from the historical average. For decades, housing construction in King County looked about how you'd expect. Seattle, which is about 1/3 of the county's population, built about 1/3 of the region's new housing. The suburbs that make up the rest of the county built the rest. But now that it has all changed, Seattle is building housing like never before, and the housing growth has slowed significantly for the suburbs. The shift is a result of a combination of developers chasing the biggest profits in Seattle, where housing demands have gone through the roof, and the Seattle leaders have opened up floodgates for bigger buildings, and suburbs restricting new construction through zoning laws that all but ban new housing in most parts of the region. Now, overall, Seattle housing construction has grown 130% this decade compared to the average over the prior 3 decades, while housing developments in the suburbs have dropped 43% from its historical average. And it all up, and in the county as a whole, as actually on pace for a slight decline in the overall number of homes being built in this decade, despite Seattle's building frenzy. That's only part of the explanation. For decades, local suburbs also built quite a lot of apartments, condos, townhouses, and other dense forms of housing from 1980 to 2010. Now, Seattle counted for about 40% of all apartments and other multifamily buildings built in King County. This is crazy. For decades that the suburbs actually built more apartments than Seattle. Now, this decade, Seattle has built 70% of the county's dense housing, despite having only 15% of the country's development land. Now, when looking just at apartments and other multifamily buildings, construction is down 27% in the suburbs from its historical average. Now, the biggest difference now is that vacant development land isn't nearly as abundant as it used to be. So this means to add housing, they need to redevelop some of the already existing, like parking lot and little strip malls. Now, Seattle's doing this in a big way, completely transforming some of the low-density neighborhoods and towers and block-long apartments mid-size, while the suburbs have done this in a much more measured way, or in some cases, not at all. Overall, housing growth in the suburbs this decade has lagged a bit behind the even average of the state, where demands of housings are less intense. Now, the reason housing construction has slowed down, it's because fewer people want homes. just the opposite. In the past, the few years in King County has rocketed up the charts and the most expensive place to buy a home or rent an apartment. A big factor in the housing demand is the job growth, which lures people to move here, and the balance between job and housing growth has changed too. So the region's actually built housing is a little more quickly than it adds jobs in the 1990s and in the 2000s. So in other words, it roughly built enough homes for people who are in need, helping prevent the intense competition that has pushed up home prices and rents. So for the decade, the number of new jobs has soared twice as fast in the new housing. That holds true even in the account for efforts of rescission by looking just in the last 5 years. So specifically, housing growth in Seattle has nearly kept pace with jobs, but not in the suburbs. It's not like builders have that many options. All but a couple of the small strips in the city zone exclusively for single-family homes. The same is true throughout the King County. The trend of housing being funneled into Seattle and away from the suburbs is likely to continue. So right now, Seattle has 62% of all apartments under construction in King County, according to the Department Insight Real Data, which tracks construction and planning of buildings with at least 50 units. In the country suburbs, Redmond and Bellevue host more than half of the apartments underway now. So looking further into the future, the forecast calls for an even stronger deliverance. Seattle has 82% of all the apartments planned, but not yet under construction in King County amongst the large buildings. So there are more apartments planned in the core of downtown Seattle than all of the county's suburbs combined. Not all of the units will be built, but still, Seattle has nearly 28,000 apartments in the pipeline, while all suburbs combined have about 6,000 planned amongst large buildings. So interesting data. I just wanted to share with you here a little bit about what's going on in Seattle compared to everywhere else in King County. Coming up next on the Money Hour, the 9 best ways to make the most of your marketing table, event sponsorship, and come home with clients, connections, collaboration, and cash. Nancy Juetten of Nancy Juetten Marketing, right here at 1150 a.m. at KKNW after the short break.
Are you looking for a real estate agent who will take the time to listen to your needs and will be your greatest advocate when it comes to buying or selling your home? Deanna Barley with Keller Williams Realty goes above and beyond and is an agent you can trust. Deanna uses her expertise to represent her clients effectively and enjoys helping them achieve their real estate goals.
Hi, this is Deanna Barley, and I'd like to be your biggest advocate for all your real estate needs. Give me a call at 253-468-5062. That's 253-468-5062.
You're listening to The Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, and co-host Keelan Harvey on Alternative Talk AM 1150. Now, back to the show with local mortgage experts Tina Mitchell and Keelan Harvey.
Welcome back to the Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell.
And co-host Keelan Harvey.
Your local mortgage experts right here on 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, August 11th show. It's a great day to talk money, and that's what the show's all about, how to make money, save money, and build a better quality of life for you and your family. If you're hearing our show at a different time or day, you are listening to a rebroadcast, but we're here to answer any questions or connect you with the guests that we have on the show today. Please call the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150, or you can also go online at themoneyhour.com. In studio right now, Nancy Juetten of Nancy S. Juetten Marketing. And she's going to share with us the 9 best ways to make the most of your marketing table or event sponsorship to come home with clients, connections, collaboration, and a little bit of cash. Well, in Nancy's case, it's probably a lot of cash. Have you ever invested in a sponsorship table at a business lunch or an industry event? Have you ever been thinking about it or just can't pull the trigger because you're not sure what to do and how to make the most of it? Well, Nancy's going to be a great resource for us today. And Nancy, thank you so much for coming back in studio. It's always a pleasure to have you here with us.
It's always good to be here. Thanks for having me.
And a little bit about Nancy. Together with her husband, certified financial planner, professional Steve Juetten, they guide couples to share power, access, and control over their personal financial information, even after life has served up a little bump in the road. This is especially important when something happens along the road of life, when one needs to step to be an advocate for another or be in a position of being able to drive life forward no matter what, without losing valuable time or time away from searching for essential documents that they need. They offer ease of use tools and optimistic approach to getting this done, and accountability to couples and families across the country so that they stop procrastinating, start powerful conversations, get their personal financial lives in order and on equal footing, and of course, correct for even better things to come. Nancy is also a leading industry in sharing her wealth of information that she has with business professionals to really help them get known, get paid, and doing what they love to do. And I'm really excited about my conversation, or our conversation. I left you out there, Keelan. What the heck?
Thank you. Our conversation. Thank you.
Conversation. Yes. Our conversation about, really having to maximize your presence when you're at an event. So, Nancy, thanks again for coming in.
Great to be here.
So, Nancy, we've all done it. You put some money out there. You think you're, sponsoring an event or marketing a table, and just nothing comes of it. So what is the top tip you could give us for those of us who are going to fork out some cash at some event and hopefully drum up some business?
Well, I have 9 tips if we can share them.
We got a little bit of time here.
What I would say, first off, is how you do anything is how you do everything. So from the moment you put your feet on the property where the event is, you are on. When you're checking into the hotel, when you're dealing with the waiters, when you're dealing with the service personnel, when you're dealing with the AV people, you have got a smile on your face. You're there to serve. You're there to be of contribution. And don't ever forget that, because there will be people watching you and they will remember how you showed up. So show up like a rock star everywhere you go, gracious, of service, and interested in others and not interested only in yourself. That's always excellent advice.
Yeah, I love that, Nancy. And I have to say that you do that every time that I see you. And I want to bring that in because we have a lot of different listeners here today. We have people may not be part of the workforce, and we definitely have a lot of people that are doing a lot of different things in the workforce. And this conversation is really around life and how you present yourself every day when you show up. And this is really focused around an event and some things to do, but really important advice to really be your best self all the time. So, Nancy, what else do you recommend?
Well, I just came back from Denver, Colorado, where my husband and I were breaking bread and talking shop with about 100 financial advisors. And there were 27 sponsors. So imagine that it's going to be sponsor spotlight moment, and you are given 2 minutes or less to say who you are, what you're here for, and why anybody would want to stop by your booth. Well, I was standing there watching these people waste their opportunity. They spent the first 20 seconds saying, thank you, it's so good to be here, thank you for putting on this event, blah, 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 blah. And everybody's looking at their watch and looking at their phone and wishing they were in Philadelphia. So what I think is important is if you're given 1 to 2 minutes to stand in front of a whole room of people that could be your perfect client, start with an enrolling question that everyone can say yes to. And then tell them that you are the answer to their prayer, and then give them a compelling reason to stop by your booth so that they can get the religion and get to know you and see what the magic is waiting for them. Because when I did that just the other day, I actually got a standing ovation. And people said to me, oh my gosh, that was an amazing talk you gave. It was a 1-minute commercial. But people came to see us, and we were like, I felt like Lucy in that psychiatric 5 cents. Take a seat in my office. Let me show you my bag of tricks. There was a line waiting. So don't waste your moment in the spotlight. Make it count.
I love that. And, an easy formula that you can use that I try to follow is, risk and benefit. I always believe the balance in everything. And I believe in starting with you want the bad news or the good news. Always give me the bad news and end with the good news. So give a risk if you don't, the benefit you do, or the problem that they have and why you are their solution. And you can easily nail that in your 60 or 120 seconds.
I love that. You got to be prepared. So, Nancy, we got our game face on. We showed up. We're doing our thing, and you're well prepared. You've taken advantage of your spotlight. What's next?
Well, I'd like you to consider ways that you can engage passersby to make sure they stop, look, listen, and engage with you. And I would say to that also, don't ever underestimate the value and the attraction of a really good old-fashioned Tootsie Pop, because people love to stop and they love to talk to you about that. And then if you have other goodies like thumb drives that are customized with your name, that are already packaged with what it is that you're inviting people to buy so that they can go to their hotel room and check it out more completely, that's a really useful gift that will serve you and will serve them too. Premiums are a good idea.
Yeah, and having something fun there that they can take with them, having something maybe a little bit crazy that they'll go, wow, I need to stop by and see what that's all about, and really being able to engage and start in that conversation. I love that. What then, Nancy?
Well, I'm a big fan of having a business card drawing so that there is something valuable for people to win. And in our case, we actually made available these demonstration notebooks of what the Life Goes On Roadmap licensing opportunity is all about. And we actually gave people the opportunity to check them out and take them back to their hotel room so they could read them and see how awesome they were. But we also made it available as something that people could win. And at the end of the conference, we drew a name, and the person just about jumped out of her skin when she won it. And of course, I asked her to pose for a photo opportunity, and I posted it all across Facebook, and she posted it all across Facebook, and everybody's wondering, what the heck is that, and how can I get one? So what do you have that's relevant and interesting and of service to your audience that you could actually give away as a prize that has suitable value that people will actually be sitting on their hands hoping that you pick their name?
Yes.
It feels like you have like an event, Nancy. Like you have your own thing
does.
going on.
Oh, that's good. The event and the event.
Yeah,
and then the event afterwards she has too.
Yeah, you're stealing the show and making it yours, right? And attracting people, little goodies. I know I've taken out like little trinkets after the fact, and you're like, oh yeah, I remember. So what's next after that?
Well, here's a ninja tip I highly recommend. It's not just the folks that are attending the event or the conference that you want to make friends with. It's also your fellow exhibitors.
Yes.
So while you're getting ready and setting up your exhibit, go ahead and take a genuine, deliberate interest in every single exhibitor. Find out what they're there for. Find out what their mission is. See if there's some kind of common ground where you can create a collaboration that can take your product and their product far and wide. Be open to those kinds of strategic alliances, because what I found in this particular conference is that we were the only company that did what it is that we did. And there were some big movers and shakers and industry association leaders that took a genuine interest and said, this could be a member benefit for all of our thousands of members. This could be something that we make available to all of our clients who deal with our advisors. And I'm thinking to myself, hot dog, hallelujah. I'm talking to people every day, and everywhere there's an opportunity.
Hot dog, hallelujah.
Yeah, so that's a ninja tip that has paid off handsomely for me year after year after year. Just make sure you get to know all the exhibitors. And then one other tip, which I think is really important to bring out, we all have cell phones, don't we? Don't be that exhibitor that's sitting there looking at your phone with your head down and not even looking up to see who's passing by. Because one of the things I noticed is, my, oh my, so many people do that. They don't certainly create an avenue where you're actually excited to approach someone if your head is down and you're looking at your phone. Put your phone away and look people right in the eye. Invite them to have a seat right next to you. Go nose to nose, toe to toe. Have a real conversation.
And also, or you could leave the phone out and you could do some little Facebook Live or something and show the activity and the fun that's happening over at your booth, right?
I wish I would have done that. That's a really good idea.
Well, you were just talking about business professionals and connecting with them. And I was just going to say that's one of the really great things. And I've learned a lot from you, Nancy, as you know, because I've shared with you many times. But through my coaching program, I talk about the importance of for business professionals to really connect with other business professionals. That should be the core of your business, because I always say they're doing business today. They can support you today. And most importantly, they need you today, because we each have our own expertise in our own field. And there are other power partners that we need in order to service our clients. And you are one of the power partners that they need. So just to chime in on what you said with connecting with the other people at the booth, I'm sure that there's some similarity, the word that I'm trying to come up with, there you go, that you all have, which means that there's opportunities, just like you said, that you can help each other help your clients. So I love that. And really quick, I want to mention, because you mentioned the license opportunity, which we're really not talking about that in the show today, but I want to bring that up because it kind of ties into what I just said, is, the ability to really take all of the work and effort and time and hours and sweat and pain that somebody else has put into their program and be able to plug in and utilize that help your clients. So can you share a little bit about what this licensing agreement and program looks like?
Well, sure. We created a program called the Life Goes On Roadmap that makes it easy for people to get their personal financial lives organized, so that if something should happen to one or the other partner, the other will be able to look after the other and also champion them and also drive life forward in the event that it's very dire. Well, it just sort of the light went on that there are financial advisors across the country who could benefit from using this same system. So we are so happy that as a result of attending this trade show and having this arms wide open approach, we came home with quite a few new licensees of our system who love it. They've been wishing to create something just like it. They just haven't had the bandwidth. But now that we've created something they can brand as their own, they can serve their clients in this very powerful fiduciary way and set themselves apart in the marketplace and empower people everywhere in this very important way. So we're super excited about it, and thanks for allowing me to talk about it.
Yeah.
You know, I came from that world, actually. So the simpler you can make it for people, there's a lot of moving parts when we talk about planning a life, and a lot of even great financial planners often miss a lot of those little details and steps. So, Nancy, do they just go on and start from the beginning and work their way through in kind of life events, or how does it work?
Well, it's sort of plug and play. We have a guidebook that's your GPS to success. We have a digital organizer that's like a fancy dancy spreadsheet. You can enter all of your information. We even have a really fun game board that you can play to stay on track so that you can follow the yellow brick road to become an I'm ready for anything road tripper for the rest of your life. Then you would want to tell all your friends. So all of this gets customized for the advisor, but it's also available for purchase from our website at a very affordable price. And it's a gift that nobody will regret receiving, and it's a trip you'll never regret taking.
Yeah, love that. So as we're wrapping things up here, final tips, additional tips that you have for our listeners.
Be prepared to make sales at the event. Yeah. Don't be there speaking and leave your order form in the hotel room. Don't forget your square if you're able to collect money. One really quick story, I was at an event. This woman gave this great talk, and everybody was thinking they wanted to buy from her. And she said, "Oh, my order form's in the hotel room."
Oh, my God.
And I said, "What room is it? I'll go get it for you." Yeah. She had the whole room ready to buy, but she wasn't prepared to collect the money. Don't let this happen to you.
I love that. And I always say the task is to ask, because people need what you have and the services that you have to provide, but you have to ask in order to find out who really is there to say yes. So, Nancy, thank you so much for joining us again here on our show, and always appreciate you.
Thanks. And if folks are curious about Life Goes On Roadmap, there's a free gift you can get at lifegoesonroadmap.com.
Thank you, Nancy. Coming up next on the Money Hour, the Seattle Shutdown. Britt, Wibmer with Avenue Properties right here on 1150 AM KKNW after this short break.
Are you looking for a real estate agent who will take the time to listen to your needs and will be your greatest advocate when it comes to buying or selling your home? Deanna Barley with Keller Williams Realty goes above and beyond and is an agent you can trust. Deanna uses her expertise to represent her clients effectively and enjoys helping them achieve their real estate goals.
Hi, this is Deanna Barley, and I'd like to be your biggest advocate for all your real estate needs. Give me a call at 253-468-5062. That's 253-468-5062.
You're listening to The Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, and co-host Keelan Harvey on Alternative Talk AM 1150. Now, back to the show with local mortgage experts Tina Mitchell and Keelan Harvey.
Welcome back to the Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell.
And co-host Keelan Harvey.
Your local mortgage experts right here on 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, August 11th show. We are here to help you build a strong financial blueprint 1 week and one show at a time. If you're hearing our show at a different time or day, you are listening to a rebroadcast, but we're here to connect you with the guests that we have on the show today. Please call the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. In studio right now, Britt, Wibmer with Avenue Properties, the Seattle Shutdown. Britt, thank you. I was kind of just hanging there with the Seattle Shutdown. Thanks for coming in, Britt.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be back.
And a little bit about Britt. Britt is the principal broker at Britt Wibmer Real Estate Group, Avenue Properties. Equipped with 15 back-to-back years as a top producer broker, Britt capitalizes on her experience, her Rolodex of her strong negotiation skills to help clients achieve their real estate objectives. Focused on West Bellevue in the greater Seattle area, Britt provides a luxury real estate experience at all price points. She also provides complimentary staging, professional organizational help, and home prep project management that helps her clients get their home ready seamlessly and easily. Britt's passion is maximizing her clients' real estate investments and making each and every real estate journey a positive one.
So, Britt, we're hearing generally that there's a market shift. So you're on the front lines. I'd love to hear, what are you seeing?
Well, about 2 months ago, actually, it was back in May when the Amazon head tax thing came out. That's when the whole thing kind of came to a slow grind. We had been seeing so much, multiple offers, so many more buyers than there were sellers, and then suddenly, and I don't know that that's necessarily the cause, but at that point, listings just kept coming out and buyers just took a back seat. So we have seen a market slow down. We've seen an absolute increase in inventory. We're now up to about 1.7 months of inventory, whereas back in November, December, we were at half a month. So it feels like a huge amount of inventory. It does feel slower, but in the real scheme of things, we're getting more toward a balanced market.
Yeah, which is really good. I mean, that's what we want to aim for, is to have that balanced market. And, I love what you said with the Amazon and the media, because really in the media space, not here as much, but majority of the media space, it is fear-based, and fear-based changes consumers' confidence, and then that has a compound effect there and how it's going to affect our market. So yes, I think you're definitely right that has something to do with it. So Britt, what other reasons can you think of for this shift in the market?
Well, we've had such a long run of a lack of inventory, a huge number of buyers moving into the neighborhoods, into the city of Seattle. And so it's the combination of people waiting on the sidelines a little bit, the fact that it's summertime. August is generally my slowest month of the year. And it's interest rates. That's been one of the things that I've been hearing out there by buyers that are keeping them on the sidelines a bit.
And Caitlin, I mean, we're in the industry doing mortgages every single day. And the, interest rates, there's been such, a huge increase in interest rates starting at the beginning of January, when rates were 3 3/4, and now we're sitting at 4 3/4. So a % increase in rate. And the funny thing is really the difference in the mortgage payment is not as extreme as you may think that it is. But just the fact that they're increasing and it's dropping that buying potential a little bit when they're already tight and strapped in what they can do on their own personal payment objectives. So yes, Britt, I agree that's a big piece of it.
I think it's the psychology too. People say interest rates going up, and it's like that fear of missing out thing, and selling your home. You're at the top of the market. Am I going to get the most money for it? And missing the bus, like you don't want to be that guy where the market goes back down and you don't get the top dollar for it. So a lot of people are wondering, I mean, have we hit the top of the market, do you think, or?
I think we have.
Yeah.
On this cycle. Just all the indicators are there. We've all been waiting on bated breath for the top, and you can only ever see the top when you're looking backwards.
Yeah.
And I don't think that we're going to see a huge crash at all, and we'll talk about that a little bit later in this chat, I think. But I think that we've seen the top of the market.
And I love how you disclosed it with this cycle, because we've all been in the industry for many years. I've been over 2 decades, and I have to say that I really do believe that I have seen every market and every cycle. And, guaranteed in real estate that the market will always go up and it will always go down, have a flat. There's going to be that movement in the market. But it really is the safest investment because it's something that you're always going to have unless you're renting. So it really doesn't matter if you don't time the market perfectly, as long as you're not forced to sell in a bad market and you're not reinvesting, correct?
Correct. And what I'm not saying that prices will never go higher than they are right now. I'm just saying that you can't expect to have a 17% gain
exactly
year by year for the next 5 years.
Yes. Yeah. No, I think that's so important, Britt. So some people are asking if we're heading for a crash. How do you answer that question when you're talking with your buyers and your sellers?
There's absolutely not a chance that we're headed for a crash. And the reason is the way that mortgages have been given out or applied for.
Yes.
You can't give out a mortgage, but how they've
back
been
before
applied
the financial crisis, they gave it out a little bit,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
a little
I
bit.
was given, I think I had 5 houses at one time, and even I had a reverse arm mortgage. So, I've been there and I've enjoyed those bizarre mortgages. But, having just bought a house back in November, boy, it is stringent. And they do not give loans to people who can't qualify. So because of that, unless people are starting to lose their jobs everywhere, there's no way that we could have a crash.
Yeah, I love that, and it's so true that the issue was the lack of thought process behind and how you were lending when you were doing zero down loans, stated income loans with no job, no credit. I mean, just really anything went. And when the market shifted a little bit, people just decided whether it was strategic or not to walk away from their home. So we've really got that safeguard this time around. And you can ask, listening, you may not know, but if you look at the real estate market and the employment market, they always follow each other. So most people can predict a little bit easier what they think employment's going to do than real estate. So I would ask anyone that's listening that thinks that we're coming up for a crash, where do you think our employment's going? In our local market right here. And there's your answer, just as Britt says, that we're not going to see the market crash.
Well, and that I am speaking just from a Seattle perspective. I
of
do
course.
not follow real estate around the country, but for here and our economic indicators, our great employment, our technology sector, I mean, I just don't see it.
So if I'm listening right now, I'm thinking about, okay, I might be getting ready to sell my home because we might be towards the tippy top. We're not going for a crash anytime soon. So what can homeowners do to get their house sold in this market?
Well, now more than ever, because competition amongst homes is higher than it's been for years and years. So we have a little bit less buyers, but a lot more homes on the market. So you have to have your house completely prepared from top to bottom. It's never been more important because buyers are able to be picky. Shocking. And they are taking their time to look and make sure that they're making a savvy decision for themselves, because they also know that, hey, we're here at the top, but I still need a new place to live. So, making sure that your house is completely prepared. And then also it's time to start discounting for those flaws that, maybe 3-4 months ago you could have gotten away with. I'm hearing dark basements, arterial streets, flaws like not enough bathrooms on the proper floor. I mean, people are turning down houses for, what I would never have heard commentary like that 4 to 6 months ago. So.
Yeah, and we've had a couple contracts come over in the recent with contingent on their home selling. I've had a couple that have backed out during the inspection. It's like, what? Where did somebody get an opportunity to get an inspection without doing a free inspection? So yeah, it's interesting to be working and seeing that shift. So switching over, Keelan, asked you about sellers and really preparing to get top dollar. What about buyers? What are buyers doing? Are they out there seeing and excited about this opportunity? Are they slowing up and getting in the market? What are you seeing with your buyers?
Well, they are being more picky, which is fantastic for them. It's a great opportunity to take your time because, generally speaking, the offer review dates, no longer seeing those. So there's less pressure to get everything dialed in right before a certain date.
Yeah.
So buyers are taking their time, but there is also opportunity to do contingent offers, which you just talked about. I've been able to get 2 clients very recently into contingent homes. So it's making it a lot more, a lot easier for buyers and sellers, if they're the same person, to be able to move forward with a whole lot less risk.
That's a great point, because that was one thing that slowed the market up is, for listening, a contingent offer is basically you have a home to sell and you want to buy another home and you want to be able to go contingent on your offer getting accepted, not knowing if you're going to get a buyer on your home. So if for some reason you don't, you can back out and you're not out anything. You can be bumped by the seller if another offer comes in. But the problem and one of the issues that we had is, just as you said, Britt, is as a seller, they couldn't get a contingent offer on their buy side. So then they were afraid to sell, because what if they don't, what if they can't find another home? So we've eliminated that. And that's why when you talk about a balanced market, why it's no matter if you're a buyer or a seller, you really do want to be in a balanced market, because it gives a balance for everyone. And so, I'm excited about our little shift in the market.
Yeah, it's coming back to normal-ish. I wouldn't say compared to the nation, but it's Seattle. It is what it is. So, Britt, let's talk about investment properties a little bit. I know there's a ton of people with the market. They've got a ton of equity, let's call it, or even a separate property. What about cashing out now, considering we're kind of at this possible peak of the market? What are your thoughts on that?
I've had about 3 different clients call me just very recently. Hey, we gotta get this place sold now. What about my condo? I've been holding, and it's you have to look at each property differently, at each micro market, really. So a conversation that I had with a seller that had a Queen Anne condo. Well, 1 month there was 2 active competitive properties, and then you look the next month and there's 20.
Wow.
So, in that particular case, it was let's rent for another year, so that you're at this particular moment, let's keep it cash flowing.
Sure.
But if you're not cash flowing, I would definitely say this could be a really good time to offload. Most people are cash flowing, though, if they have an investment property.
Yeah. So, Britt, that crystal ball that you carry with you all the time, what is it saying to you that was going to happen last part of 2018?
Well, this is my gift, is my crystal ball. I'm only kidding. No one can see into the future, but what I can do is just tell what's been happening in the market from my experience, what I'm predicting. I think that a lot will be told come September, because August is generally quite slow, and September generally picks back up once school's back in session, et cetera. I do see a lot of stagnant listings, ones that people have priced their homes based off of multiple offer situations back in May and March. And so people are going to have to start getting real that, when there was only one person, when there was 10 people trying to buy one home, that end price is going to be a lot different than one person trying to buy one home. So I think we're going to have to see some price reductions on these homes that have been sitting on the market for 45 days based on old prices. So I do see price reductions happening, but I don't think that that's it's not saying that the market is crashing again to kind of loop back around. What it's saying is we're getting realistic. We're now selling one home to one buyer rather than the other way. So I think we'll see some price reductions, and I do think that things will continue to sell approximately at the same pace right now. I'd be pretty surprised if we end up having more than 2 to 3 months of inventory at any market here in Seattle.
Yeah, and it's really great. I mean, the call to action. Obviously, buyers get out there. There's homes out there. You can get some deals. You can do some creative things and get your offer accepted. For a seller, great news is if you're a seller and you're going to be a buyer, most of the time you're buying up. This is a great market. It's a better market than where you came from before you sold your home, because the more expensive house that you're going to buy, if the market has slowed down a little bit, it's okay that you lose if you're selling for a little bit less, because you're buying that more expensive one for a little bit less.
Absolutely. So you're buying and selling in the same market.
Yes.
So you're exactly what you said.
Yeah.
And I have seen over the last couple of years, people are just absolutely not willing to sell because there's nowhere to buy.
Exactly.
And now that's going to be changing too.
Yeah. So great
I
news
do
out
see
there.
some great things happening, but also, it's this shift.
Yeah. Well, like you said, realistic, be real.
Yep.
Yeah.
Be real.
Love it. Thank you so much, Britt, for coming back in. Really appreciate your expertise and the wealth of knowledge that you have.
Well, I thank you for having me back.
Coming up next on the Money Hour, thinking outside the box in today's market. Deanna Barley with Keller Williams Realty Everett right here on 1150 AM KKNW after the short break.
Are you looking for a real estate agent who will take the time to listen to your needs and will be your greatest advocate when it comes to buying or selling your home? Deanna Barley with Keller Williams Realty goes above and beyond and is an agent you can trust. Deanna uses her expertise to represent her clients effectively and enjoys helping them achieve their real estate goals.
Hi, this is Deanna Barley, and I'd like to be your biggest advocate for all your real estate needs. Give me a call at 253-468-5062. That's 253-468-5062.
You're listening to The Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, and co-host Keelan Harvey on Alternative Talk AM 1150. Now, back to the show with local mortgage experts Tina Mitchell and Keelan Harvey.
Welcome back to the Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell.
And co-host Keelan Harvey.
Your local mortgage experts right here at 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, August 11th show. We bring into studio each week the best of the best experts in our local market on everything when it comes to your money. If you're hearing our show at a different time or day, you are listening to rebroadcast, but we're here to answer any questions or connect you with a guest that we have on the show. Please call the show at 1-855-400-1150.
Are you looking for a real estate agent who will take the time to listen to your needs and will be your greatest advocate when it comes to buying or selling your home? Deanna Barley with Keller Williams Realty goes above and beyond and is an agent you can trust. Deanna uses her expertise to represent her clients effectively and enjoys helping them achieve their real estate goals.
Hi, this is Deanna Barley, and I'd like to be your biggest
advocate
for all your real estate needs. Give me a call at 253-468-5062. That's 253-468-5062.
And is a mama to a 1-year-old baby boy. Having bought and sold multiple times herself, Deanna knows what it is like to be on both sides of the transaction. She likes to tell her clients, I'll handle the stress and you handle the excitement. That sounds like a really great place to be. Yeah. She is an agent who is honest and who generally cares about her clients' best interest and enjoys meeting new friends with every transaction. Deanna gives a fresh look on today's market, and her clients value her generosity and flexibility. Deanna also believes in giving back and supports Southeast Asian Orphan Foundation, a charity which builds homes for orphans in Vietnam.
So, Deanna, we've talked many times before, and you always talk about good relationships with your agent, how important a relationship is. How important is it to have a good relationship with your real estate agent?
Well, it's really important. It's just like any other relationship, right? You want to feel comfortable in it. You want to know that your agent has your best interest in mind and you can trust them with your decisions. You want to feel like you can go to them with any questions or concerns that you have. And this is one of the biggest decisions you'll make in your life, right? So you want to feel 100% comfortable about it. I would say communication is the most important part about that relationship. You want to be able to talk to the agent, and you want to know that you're being understood as well. You want your agent too to go above and beyond. You want to know that they'll do those things for you. And it is said that communication is the key to a successful relationship, and communication is the key to a successful transaction as well.
Yeah, well said, Deanna. I like how you've talked about communication and being understood, especially in this market right now. As we talked with Britt earlier, the shift in the market and what we're seeing, there's a lot of buyers and sellers that really need extra communication and extrally to be understood what their questions are to explain what's happening in the market. So how do you go be above and beyond in your relationship with your clients in this market that we're in right now today, Deanna?
Right. Well, by listening and thinking outside the box. So clients want to know that they're being listened to, right? Having worked in customer service for 7 years, I realized how important it is to really listen to customers initially and really find out what they're looking for and what their needs are. This will save a lot of hassle in the future and a lot of frustration on both sides of the transaction. Another thing I think is important is thinking outside the box. So I think we as agents can sometimes get used to doing the same procedures and general searches over and over again. And I think there are different methods and different platforms that can be used and different strategies depending on each individual circumstance. And those circumstances need to be evaluated so you can see how you can go above and beyond with each individual client. And it's so important to be prudent so we can avoid those potential roadblocks in the future. And, thinking outside the box can be a lot more work at times, and sometimes it may not pan out. But you know what? Sometimes it does, and it's definitely worth the effort.
Yeah, it makes a lot. Even with us, Tina, a lot of times,
We think out of the box a little bit, don't we?
We do.
Yeah.
I think we do a pretty good job of it. But sometimes, if you ever get that, you got to kind of dig with people because they have this facade of they don't really want to tell you all the facts and everything. That's so important, and so that helps you to think outside the box, right? So. Give us some examples. Do you have any examples you can think of, Deanna, where you thought outside of the box?
Sure. It's one of my favorite stories. So I had these clients, they were looking for a multifamily property, a mother-in-law in Snohomish County, around $400K. So this was really hard to find at that price range. We weren't finding homes for months and months, and they were getting really discouraged and thinking that they were never going to find a home. So I knew I had to do something different than what I was doing, something more, and think outside the box, so to speak, right? So I started looking outside their price range, and I found a home that was perfect for them, suited their needs, but it was about $25,000 more than their max budget. So I told them just to put an offer in at their max at $400 and see what happens. So they did, and at that time, the sellers weren't ready to accept that offer. And so about a month later, I kept my eye on that home. About a month later, I went back to the seller and asked if they would consider our original offer, being that home was on the market for over a month or so. They still weren't ready, but about 2 or 3 weeks later, they called me and they said they were ready to accept my client's offer at their original price of $400K. So just by not giving
success.
up, it was so exciting. I mean, it suited their needs. It was perfect for them. And just by not giving up and kind of going outside the general search and doing a little more, we found a home for them, and which would otherwise not be on their radar, right? It wasn't even in their price range, but it worked out, and I was so happy for them.
Well, and you've talked about the relationship with your real estate expert. We talk about in the show, working with the best of the best, and that's who we invite in studio, and why you're here, Deanna, and being the smaller percentage that really is looking for those opportunities for the individual market strategy to think out of the box, as you say. And I know you mentioned it's a little more work, but for the most part, it's a higher success rate for you, more importantly for your buyers and sellers on whichever side that you're thinking out of the box in. So I love that. So Deanna, some things that first-time home buyers may not be aware of that you're sharing today.
Sure. I think first-time home buyers aren't aware that they don't have to pay their buyer's agent and that they work on commission. They're not paid until a deal closes, and they're paid by the seller. So they have the same interest in mind as the buyer, right? Finding them a home that suits their needs. Another thing that buyers need to be aware of is that they have to be pre-approved before they can even buy a home. And it sounds simple to us, but I think a lot of first-time home buyers aren't aware of that. And even most agents won't even start showing them a home until they are pre-approved. Yeah. They also have to be aware that they need to be prepared to pay closing costs, which can be about 2% of the selling price, and this is cash out of their own pocket. So one thing that they can do to think outside the box is they can add that amount of closing costs to the asking or offer amount. So this way they can wrap it up in their loan, and the seller is still getting the price that they're asking for. And we want to make sure we do that instead of just ask for selling or closing costs to be paid in a seller's market, because that's not a strong offer.
Yeah, and I love that. And this is the other thing about, still we're in a seller's market without a doubt, but the fact that it's getting more to a balanced market, that buyers have the ability to do some of these out-of-the-box things that the idea, what a buyer may have thought of doing before the market shifted a little bit is if they need that money, they'll pay extra for the house and then some. But just the idea of having it there, they wouldn't get their offer accepted. So it's nice to be able to do that.
So Deanna, what should a buyer do to get their offer accepted?
Well, first off, they want to get a good lender that they can trust, right? Having a good lender is just as important as having a good agent. So, give Tina and Keelan a call. They can definitely get you underwritten, which will also strengthen your offer. If you get pre-underwritten, if you get pre-underwritten, then you get ahead of the game, right? You can close sooner within a couple weeks, and it definitely strengthens the offer. One thing that they can also do is get a pre-inspection done. This will give them the opportunity to waive the inspection contingency when they put in their offer, and this also will make them have a stronger offer. But they have to be prepared to pay for the pre-inspection. It is the same cost as an inspection, about $400 or $500, depending, right? So this is cash out of their own pocket as well, and it doesn't guarantee them to get their offer accepted. It just gives them a stronger offer. So they want to be pretty serious about the home that they're doing the pre-inspection on. One thing that is fun that I have my buyers do that they can do to go above and beyond is to write a letter about themselves. Tell their story, talk about their family, talk about why they love the home they're putting an offer on, talk about their dog, talk about whatever, right? Just build a connection with the seller. Some people might think that doesn't work and sellers only care about the bottom dollar, which is true, a lot of the times, but this is not always true. And I've seen these letters actually affect a seller's decision.
Well, we make decisions based on emotions. And so a lot of times those emotions can take over the facts or the dollars. And so, yes, I've seen many times that our buyers have had offers accepted because of the additional warm and fuzzy side that goes into that contract. So we talked about first-time home buyers, what they may not know about. What about the first-time seller that was a first-time buyer? Now they're going to be selling the first time. What might they not know about?
Sure, they want to be prepared for the closing costs as well. And one of the big ones is excise tax. It can be about 1.8% of the selling price, which can be a significant amount of money, right? And I've seen a lot of sellers be shocked at that number, and they're not aware of it until they get into the process. So a good agent will do a net proceeds for them and let them be aware of what their closing costs will be ahead of time. And also, I think that they are not aware that buyers determine the market. So some sellers can overvalue their house, like you were saying, based on emotional connections, personal connections with the home, and they don't go with the facts that the home is only worth what a buyer will pay in today's market. And unfortunately, it's not what the seller has put into the home, but it's what a buyer will pay for it. And comps and recently solds will tell them those numbers, and a good agent will help them find the appropriate price to list their home at.
Deanna, tell us about how we can get a top dollar. And we've been talking about selling, speaking of with Britt, kind of the peak of the market. Selling seems to be a theme. What can they do if they're thinking about it to get the top dollar out of their home?
Right. What Britt said, get your home into tip-top shape. First impressions are everything. You want to make sure you do everything that's been on your honey-do list, since the time you live there, right? So do touch-up paint, do cleaning, declutter, depersonalize the home. Do your yard maintenance, pull your weeds, all the basic things that will give a good first impression. For example, I went into a home. It was a beautiful home, hardwood floor, great neighborhood. And the first impression was it was really filthy. A big dirty rug was covering the hardwood floor. There was carpet pulled out in different areas of the home. And there's, animal feces on the rug. And it just wasn't presentable. And, that house stood on the market for a long time, and they got 25 less than they were asking. So one thing they can do too, like we mentioned, you can change out the carpet. It can change the overall appearance of the home, depending on how dated the kitchen is. Slab countertops really add value. Quartz is really popular right now. It's beautiful and low maintenance. Backsplash is one of my favorite things. It also is low maintenance, and although it might not add a ton of value, it really changes the overall appearance of the kitchen. And one other thing too, a pre-inspection. If they get a pre-inspection, they can, 1, fix anything that comes up on that pre-inspection to get their home ready, and then 2, buyers have the opportunity to accept that pre-inspection, and they can avoid the inspection game after mutual acceptance, the back and forthness of that.
Yeah, speaking in the industry, we've heard first impression can be your lasting impression. And then I always add to it that it will extend to others' impression. So it's really, really important there. So I'd love to, as we're wrapping up our time here, to mention in your bio, you talked about your Southeast Asia Orphan Foundation, and you're really passionate about that. Can you share a little bit about that?
I'd love to. So the COF is how we shorten it. It is located in Vietnam, like you said. It's structured around helping orphans and giving them hope for the future. The number one cause of orphans in Vietnam, it's interesting enough, is traffic-related accidents. The traffic there is horrendous. And also unique to their culture there is if a child loses their father and the mother remarries, then that man most of the time will not raise another man's son.
Oh
so
my gosh, that's
essentially,
terrible.
It is. Essentially, they become orphans. So this foundation really helps those children and gives them hope. And there are a couple different programs. You can sponsor a child $25 a month, which is what, like 4 Starbucks for us here, 4 Starbucks a month. We can give that up, and it gives them food, clothing, education, shelters them, and helps them be self-sufficient for the future. It can teach trades or educational schooling. The other program that they have that really interests me, being a real estate agent, is they can build a home for orphans for just $2,200. So we're paying $200,000 here, $500,000. It's super. $2,200.
Wow.
And so that builds them a home, gives them shelter to orphans who are otherwise living on the street and with literally no shelter and starving to death. So, my husband's been actually over there, and he's seen that ministry firsthand, and there is a great need there. And we love giving back to this foundation. We get pictures in the mail of, children we sponsor, pictures of the homes, and it's really great. And actually, every deal that I close, I give back to CEOF. So that's part of the reason why I do what I do. I believe that everything that I have is a gift, and I want to be able to give back because it truly is better to give than to receive.
Well, love that. And I can just see your eyes sparkling when you talk about the foundation, and it's beautiful.
Thank you. And if anyone else wants to learn more about it, please just go to ceof.org. That's SCAOF.org.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for Deanna coming into studio. It was a pleasure having you here, and we look forward to having you come back.
Thank you so much.
And this is your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell.
And your co-host, Keelan Harvey.
We're signing off for the day. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Look forward to seeing you here again next Saturday, right here, same time, same place, at 11:50 a.m. KKNW. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Tina Mitchell, MLO 145420, and Keelan Harvey, MLO 1330075, are licensed loan originators with Gateway Mortgage Group, LLC, and MLS 7233. The views expressed by the speakers on the preceding program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of Gateway Mortgage Group, LLC, nor are they necessarily endorsed by Gateway Mortgage Group, LLC.